The planet Nocturna is a world where sight is a death sentence. It is a moon locked in the shadow of a gas giant, a place of perpetual eclipse where the only thing more dangerous than the dark is the light. This is the home of the biolume butchers. They are massive, multi-limbed horrors that evolved a terrifying method of hunting. Their bodies are covered in thousands of shifting bioluminescent patches that pulse in complex, hypnotic frequencies. When a prey animal looks at them, the light triggers a massive seizure in the nervous system, paralyzing the victim instantly. The butchers don't need to chase you, they just need you to look at them. Once you are frozen, they take their time. They are the undisputed masters of the nocturnal jungle, using brilliance as a cage and shadows as their larder. The first human colonists didn't stand a chance. They brought flashlights and flares, thinking the dark was the enemy. They turned the jungle into a neon circus, and the butchers feasted for months. Every time a soldier raised his rifle to aim, he saw the patterns. He saw the beautiful rhythmic violet and cyan pulses, and his brain simply stopped working. We found them months later, standing like statues in the brush, their eyes wide and white, their bodies hollowed out by the swarm. The machines of war were useless because the pilots couldn't keep their eyes on the monitors. The AI couldn't process the shifting light logic. The jungle was winning. But the Federation realized that if the eyes were the weakness, we simply had to stop using them. They created the 9th Sensory Specialist Wing. The Blackout-Assassins. We are the apex predators of Nocturna because we are the only things on this planet that are truly, perfectly blind. We wear the void suits. The helmets are solid plates of reinforced carbon. There are no visors, no cameras, no glass. We see nothing. Instead, our suits are covered in thousands of microscopic skin-sync sensors. These sensors detect the minute vibrations of the air, the thermal radiation of nearby bodies, and the ultrasonic echoes of the environment. This data is translated into tactile vibrations directly onto our skin. We don't see the jungle, we feel it. A tree is a cool pressure on my left arm. A moving predator is a hot, rhythmic pulsing on my chest. A monofilament wire is a sharp, thin line of static across my fingers. We have turned our entire bodies into a single, massive ear. I am Commander Cade. I have been blind for 6 hours. And I have never seen my prey more clearly. The drop into the silent canopy was a plunge into a sensory void. We didn't use parachutes, the sound would give us away. We used mag-gravity boots to slide down the trunks of the obsidian oaks. My suit hummed as the haptic map began to bloom in my mind. I felt the rough texture of the bark through the sensors on my feet. I felt the humid, heavy air pressing against my shoulders. Stay dark, I signaled through the haptic link. Every word I thought was translated into a specific vibration on my squad's arms. Unit 1, dark. Unit 2, dark. Unit 3, dark. We moved like ink through a bowl of black water. Around us, the jungle was alive with the butchers. I could feel them. They were perched on the high branches, their bodies pulsing with lethal light. I could feel the heat they were generating, a sickly, rhythmic warmth that radiated through the dark. They were waiting for us to turn on a light. They were waiting for us to reveal our eyes. We didn't. I reached into my utility belt and pulled out a coil of monofilament wire. It was thinner than a human hair and strong enough to slice through a tank's hull. I didn't need to see it. I felt the wire's tension through my haptic gloves. I moved between 2 giant trees, weaving a web of invisible death. I felt the squad doing the same, creating a 3-dimensional kill zone of micro-thin lines. Suddenly, a butcher moved. I felt a massive spike of heat and vibration coming from above. It was a centipede-class butcher, 40 feet of armored segments and barbed legs. It dropped from the canopy, its wings humming at a frequency meant to paralyze. As it fell, it ignited its bioluminescence. Even through the solid carbon of my helmet, I could feel the intensity of the light, a sudden, sharp warmth on my face. To a normal man, this was the end. He would see the patterns, his brain would lock, and he would be shredded. To me, it was just a target. The butcher hit my wire web. I felt the vibration travel through the line, a sharp, singing note that told me exactly where the creature was. The monofilament sliced through its first 3 segments like a hot knife through butter. Glowing violet ichor sprayed into the air. I felt the droplets hitting my suit, tiny hot pinpricks of sensation. The creature shrieked, a high-pitched ultrasonic blast. I felt it as a physical blow to my chest, but my suit's dampeners absorbed the energy. I lunged forward, guided by the heat signature of its open wounds. I didn't swing a sword, I pulled a wire. I looped the monofilament around the creature's head and pulled. The resistance was momentary. I felt the wire bite into the chitin, then the sudden release as the head was severed. The body of the butcher collapsed, its bioluminescence flickering and dying as its life force faded. In the dark, it was just a pile of cooling meat. Contact. Multiple signatures. Unit 3 signaled. The swarm was awake. They realized that their primary weapon, the light, was failing. They stopped trying to mesmerize and started to hunt by sound and vibration. Thousands of smaller butchers, the size of wolves, began to swarm the floor of the jungle. Switch to void combat, I signaled. We drew our sting blades, short, heavy daggers that vibrated at a frequency that disrupted biological matter. We moved in a perfect, synchronized dance. We weren't fighting an army, we were clearing a room in the dark. I felt a butcher leaping from my 6 o'clock. I didn't turn, I simply leaned back, letting it fly over me and lashed out with my blade. I felt the edge sink into its soft underbelly, the heat of its guts spilling out over my boots. Beside me, Unit 2 was a whirlwind. He was using a pulse whip, a monofilament line with a weighted tip. I could feel the air displacement of the whip as it whistled through the dark, each crack followed by the wet thud of a butcher being bisected. We were a pocket of absolute silence and efficiency in the middle of a screaming, glowing nightmare. The butchers were panicking. They turned their lights to maximum intensity, trying to find the things that were killing them. The jungle was flooded with a blinding, strobing violet light that would have vaporized the retinas of any other living thing. We ignored it. The light was just heat. The patterns were just noise. We pushed toward the Grand Lighter, the alpha of the colony. It was a massive, sedentary beast the size of a house, located in the center of a clearing. It acted as a biological lighthouse, its entire body a massive organ of hypnotic light. It was currently pulsing so hard the air itself was beginning to ionize. I felt the heat of the Grand Lighter from 50 meters away. It felt like standing in front of an open furnace. The ground around it was littered with the statues of its victims, thousands of creatures frozen in time, now serving as a shield for their master. Deploy the solar dampeners, I ordered. We didn't use bombs. We used aerosol ink. We fired canisters into the clearing that released a thick black cloud of carbon particles. These particles didn't just block light, they absorbed it. The Grand Lighter's brilliant display was swallowed by the black cloud. Its power was neutralized. It was now just a big, soft target in the dark. We moved into the cloud. The haptic feedback was chaotic here, the air thick with particles, but I could still feel the massive, pulsing heart of the beast in the center. I felt its fear. It was vibrating, a low-pitched, frantic thrumming. I reached the Grand Lighter. I climbed onto its soft, pulsating back, my boots sinking into the glowing flesh. I felt the squad join me. We didn't need words. We found the primary neural hub by the heat it generated. Together we drove our sting blades deep into the hub. The Grand Lighter let out a psychic and physical shriek that shook the entire jungle. Its bioluminescence flared one last time, a desperate, blinding sun of violet fire, before it shattered. The light died. The heat faded. The vibration stopped. The Grand Lighter was dead. With the death of the Alpha, the remaining swarm lost their collective will. I felt them retreating, their heat signatures fading as they dived back into the deep burrows of the earth. The jungle became quiet. The only sound was the dripping of ichor from the obsidian leaves. I stood in the center of the clearing, my void suit covered in the cooling remains of 100 monsters. I felt the squad around me, their rhythmic breathing the only vibration in my world. I didn't take off my helmet. I didn't need to. I could feel the stars through the thin atmosphere, a faint, cold tingle on my shoulders. Humanity had proven the ultimate truth of the Apex Protocol. You can have the most beautiful, lethal light in the universe. You can turn the eyes of your enemies against them. You can own the dark and the light. But if you face a human being who is willing to stop looking, you are already dead. We are the Blackout-Assassins. We are the ones who don't need to see you to kill you. The Grand Lighter is ash. The swarm has fled. Nocturna is ours. The mission is over. We are going back to the ship. I think I'll keep the helmet on for a while. The dark feels like home.